Are you searching for the hottest Porsche Cayenne out there? Well, we have it for you here today, the Porsche Cayenne GTS Coupé, and also in this special chalk color. Join our full review, exterior, interior and the driving experience. And now everything with Thomas in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Here in the front we can see put up 911 style, a typical round Porsche shape. In the GTS version, really strong air intakes here. Then with the sports lightweight package for today and also with some carbon accentuations, really interesting. The chalk grey color, which is not a matte one, but it looks a little bit matte, really interesting. The headlamps come standard with LED. Then the first option is dynamic LED, and the second option, you can see it here, is also the matrix LED for more high beam function. The length is at 4 meters 93, 16 foot 2 or 194 inches. The GTS here comes always with a sportier suspension, no matter which one you pick. If you go with the PASM, this adaptive suspension, or an also optional air suspension we have here today, but always a sportier setup then. The GTS also comes with 21-inch wheels, the ones you can see here, usually in black, but you can also go with the GTS and then de-pick black wheels and just go for these, for example, in this Spider style. Really impressive. And in the sports lightweight package that is available for the Coupé only, but for different versions, not only for the GTS, you also, for example, get a carbon fiber roof. Then you could also get 22-inch wheels, but depending on summer or winter tires. Then we also have here the wheel arches painted in the vehicle color, by the way, today. And also the sports lightweight package will include some special seats on the interior, soon more to that. And of course the Coupé styling right here with the falling roof line, special wing here to make it even sportier. The SUV would continue right there for a little bit more trunk flexibility, but this one here more than, in a sporty, sleeker design as the Coupé version. Technology highlight is also the optional rear axle steering that goes in a opposite direction in the front wheels when you are at lower speeds. That makes parking this car in and out easier and also gives some more agility at lower speeds. In the rear we can see the light strip going all the way over the vehicle. Then there's an additional black spoiler right here and the black GTS badging. In the lower part, this diffuser style, really strong, also with carbon fiber accents in here in this design package. And in the lower part, the centralized sports exhaust. And this one only available for the Cayenne V8 models. And the GTS, here since the GTS update, once again belongs to this V8 model family. So for the Porsche Cayenne, you can get the 3-liter V6, the 2.9-liter V6 biturbo, and here the 4-liter V8 biturbo with the GTS or the Turbo SE hybrid. And here in the GTS it has 460 horsepower and 4.5 seconds is the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So hybrids both for the 6-cylinder and the 8-cylinder, but here GTS is of course traditionally pure petrol. This is the car key, slim and light in the typical Porsche style, nice, and then door closing sound. Very solid. Inside of the doors all wrapped tightly as for design, that's beautifully done. Nice levers also as for the build quality and so on. And then here, sports design lightweight package, here with the Alcantara surface for the steering wheel, this is really cool. Always a good grip, and also these special seats. They have a unique design indeed, and I mean, yeah, unicolor one would be more suitable for the masses, definitely, but they are very unique. But the most important thing is it's a fabric surface, and that is so much more breathable in summer times and also warmer in winter times, and it's really more comfortable when sitting on it. The Cayenne usually has the least comfortable seats if you compare the siblings for VW Touareg or Audi Q8 or Audi Q7, and here now with the fabric surface, especially long-term driving, is so much more comfortable indeed. The sports lightweight package, by the way, exclusive for the Cayenne Coupé, yes, but not only for the GTS, you can also go for a base Cayenne Coupé and then pick the sports design package or the sports lightweight package. They have the carbon fiber roof and also these fabric seats. And again, I can say the comfort is really way improved because a slick surface is always stiffer, and here the fabric surface more adapts to the body. So upright seating position here, as we know from this platform, and also this even entry sill. We know from this platform that the VW Touareg and also the Audi Q7 and Audi Q8 are using. They're all built in the very same factory. Usually then the Cayenne, the least comfortable one. The seats are also quite sporty still, but again, the fabric surface makes it better. You can also adjust it here, upper and lower part, how tight you want to have it here with these individual buttons. And the steering wheel also goes up and down electrically, and also has this entry function that when I turn on the ignition, before good entry, and now it comes down automatically. 1.86 m or 6'1" is my height, and here a lot of headroom left because here the sports design or sports lightweight package has this Alcantara ceiling on the inside. Optionally, you could also go for a panoramic roof, but then you could not have the carbon fiber roof here from this special package. A clean and sporty design here for the interior, and once again wrapped tightly. This is the design scheme. Sports chrono package here with the analog clock and 12.3-inch big display. Here soon more details to that. You can see the Apple CarPlay integration now also works wirelessly, by the way. So both cable or wireless. Android Auto not available for Porsche yet. Then the great Alcantara steering wheel, I can just recommend that. Driving mode selector here on the steering wheel. So when you turn that, you can see here what's happening. Not only sporty, driving fun with the throttle input, but also activates the exhaust system, and the Sports Plus mode also changes then more to the chassis. So more and more chassis goes lower, and also the suspension stiffer and so on. Then shifting pedals here at the steering wheel. Instruments are split, somewhat analog with the analog gauges, and outside digital. Zoom more details also to that. Lower part here, clicking sounds with the climate knobs. Still have that to control it manually. That's really good. Some hotkeys then for the GPS system. I would like to have the GPS hotkey on the other side. I have to reach out there, but I would like to have it here because GPS is a hotkey you could use right often. I at least do so. But here then capacitive buttons, more or less, you do get a feedback. Here also from the seat heating, but it's not a separate button or so, but it's still well to control. And then 12-volt power supply right here, adaptive cup holders, and this armrest, you put it up and now have two USB-C supplies next to also an inductive charging pad. The instruments, don't wonder the check engine light here disappears when I really start the engine. It would just be a problem when it's now still on. Here then the RPM meter on the middle part, still analog, yay! And digital speed then, and here in the right and left, these are then the digital gauges, overdrive distribution, the anti-roll control and so on. Everything can be seen here, and on the left side the digital speed once more. So you're a little bit flexible, and actually quite good overview of all the different functions. And you also see when you put in Sport or Sport Plus mode right here. And here we go with the screen details. Here we can also put up the spoiler to show off to our friends. Yeah, that's always a cool thing to do, definitely. Other than that, it raises over a speed of 90 kilometers an hour, or then more than 55 miles an hour. It raises automatically on the outside. Here, climate control can be done here, but again, as I said, it can also be done with the keys in the lower part. Just the air distribution, this you have to do then inside the screen. The GPS looks like this, and you can also get a satellite view, not necessary, so you can also go with an easier view, but here quite responsive also from the power you have, and looks good and also leads you very well. Then the Apple CarPlay integration looks like this. You still have some space here on the right side, but you can't make it bigger like this. And my playlist recommendation for today is this one here. We have the Bose sound system here, and it gives a really good sound, a very true sound indeed. So very nice, and yeah, that song is really awesome. Beautiful. And my recommendation here for the sound settings is actually, usually I activate all surround settings, but in this case I think here sound true, this is like the best setting for the best sound. The other two I leave deactivated. Not sure. Again, usually I pick all surround settings, but in this case it sounds worse than without it. Yeah, so I would recommend this here. The rear compartment, yeah, kind of a dark hole in the Cayenne Coupé. You have the split seating here, the single seating, left and right, but option you could also go for a bench that goes all the way through. Here in the Cayenne Coupé you sit a little bit lower because they want to make the bolstering a little bit different, and also the angle to give you still some headroom. With 1.86 or 6.1 there is still some headroom left even in the Coupé. In the SUV it's a little bit better, and since they didn't change the bench there, you sit a little bit more upright, to me, then a little bit more comfortable in the Cayenne SUV. However, you can live with this compromise. Legroom here is also okay. So you can definitely live with that, and then you have an extensive climate unit here in the rear next to USB seat. In the mid part, cubby hole, plus fold down the armrest if you like. 625 liters trunk capacity for the Cayenne Coupé, 150 liters less than with the Cayenne SUV. And here when I put a cabin trolley inside, here the only limitation would be that's not possible, which would be easier in the SUV, but that's then possible. So you only lose a little bit of height right there, but that's actually okay. You can release the seats from the rear compartment, cannot do it here. You can just lower it when you have the air suspension, the whole vehicle. Here you can still put a replacement tire if you like. And some measures for you. The normal trunk length here is about 1 meter. The width is a little bit more than 1 meter as well. And the height here below the cover is about 47 centimeters, just a little bit less than here, which is 40 centimeters. And when I have put down the seat, it's also like 1, 1, 1. So you can also just put the middle one down. And here then the length is actually quite substantial, and that is then at 1 meters and 80. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, the active driving lounge today with the Porsche Cayenne GTS Coupé. We put to the sports mode that also activates the special sports exhaust we have in this sports lightweight package. And we can put it to Sports Plus mode as long as it's dry. Please do not use Sports Plus when it's wet, because it also draws back the stability control and so on. And now we do a flying start from 40 kilometers an hour to whatever, let's see. Well, that's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. And wow, what an impressive acceleration and great sound as well from this 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, 460 horsepower here in the GTS version. And of course, we're not lacking any power if you compare it to the turbo. Here, still at 180 kilometers an hour, relatively calm, good noise insulation, and look at how stable the car is when changing lanes. It's not leaning at all. We have this anti-roll control here as well, and wow, I mean, that's so impressive, and how precise the steering wheel is. Great grip with the Alcantara surface, awesome. Now the speed is getting reduced. Ceramic brakes, yeah, you have to hammer them, of course, as you know from ceramic brakes. Still a nice feeling, and of course great performance, and there's no fading effect with ceramic brakes, so when you really use them all over again. I would actually not go for them, they're too expensive. But you know, this tungsten carbide coating they're offering, this is reducing brake dust and is also great in performance. This is something, you know, in between, you know, the normal standard brake and then the ceramic brakes, which are again too expensive. I think makes sense for the racetrack, but with the tungsten carbide coating brakes, they are not that expensive and still keep your wheels, your precious wheels, really clean. Here then also the feeling you have for the ceramic brakes, you really always have to hammer them, and for people that are not used to racing or so, this might also not be the most ideal solution. Here now in the tunnel, let's go once again to the Sports Plus mode. Let's drop back a little bit, open the window. Yeah, that. So, well, so that sports exhaust is really something, you know. They do have a lot of problems, especially for the European vehicles at Porsche, because of these new particle filters and all the CO2 regulations and so on, to really get the sound going still. And I mean, it is also good when sound is not that loud. I think to me the most important is not like the dB count, that it's like very loud, but it has to be nice, you know, like growling sound. And this doesn't necessarily have to do with the, you know, loudness of the sound, just that the sound itself is somehow cool, you know. And here with that sports exhaust, I think that works very well. And I mean, here, how crisp the steering is, the steering commands very well transported onto the road. You have a great feeling. It doesn't feel like you would drive a big SUV. Rear axle steering is put in this vehicle, gives me more stability at higher speeds, more agility at lower speeds. And yeah, well, once again, these brakes are hammering really, really well when you then properly use them. So I think once again, one of the sportiest SUVs on the market at all, definitely. And here the GTS is the, you know, the crispiest version of the Cayenne, definitely. Even sportier than the Turbo or the Turbo SE hybrid, because they are more powerful maybe, but not set on this really, really sporty tone we have here. How impressive is that once again? It's not the most comfortable SUV, although it's a big one, you sit upright. However, here in the seats today we have here, it's actually quite good and definitely better than in most of the other Cayennes I've driven, because the seating surface is softer with the fabric surface, so really advise you to go for that. And yeah, you have to go for the lightweight package there and sacrifice the panoramic roof for that. But then again, you get a nice Alcantara inside ceiling, and that's of course also something very special. It gives you know so much coziness in the interior, and of course a very, very sporty atmosphere. Once again, green traffic light. Let's go to sports mode. Look at that, how holy moly. I mean, how calm and collected this vehicle remains when you accelerate it out of the corner. Rear wheel bias from all-wheel drive, classic all-wheel drive we have in here, and it's, I mean, just scroll back and see how the acceleration went out of the corner, how flawless it was. Then at the first point, the rear axle steering, you know, was also putting me around that corner, putting the rear wheels in a different direction than the front wheels. So that feeling is just pure awesomeness in sporty SUV driving. So once again, I can say that is very, very well done, and it is one of the very rare big SUVs where when someone would say, like, do you really want to drive that one on the racetrack? And I was like, yeah, why not? So it would be a lot of fun. Other SUVs also work on the racetrack, definitely. But the question is if it would be a lot of fun. But this one here would definitely also be fun on the racetrack. Really, really cool. Here, by the way, in the tunnel, there's not too much with ambient lighting and so on. That would have been maybe cooler, but then again, Porsche doesn't have this philosophy of big ambient lighting because they want to keep it rather simple and sporty clean. Once again, Sport Plus mode, when we are already at speed, about 80 kilometers an hour. Let's go! Once again, 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. Of course, this car can go faster, but I mean, I always have to remain a safety aspect as well. And here, how stable, calm, and collected this car remains when we are at these high speeds. Here, even inside that corner, then lane change at these high speeds. Incredible. I mean, this is still behaving like a low-sitting sports car at any speed. That is super, super impressive. So now I have to, of course, pay attention to the other cars right here. And I don't have to raise my voice that much, although we're driving really, really fast. And I'm absolutely in control of that vehicle. That is one of the most unique things. Once again, reducing the speed. Easy task for that car. And this also here, asphalt change from one surface to another. then a little bit in the corner and on the brakes. So for some vehicles I have like a little bit washing out effect here, but here the car remained very, very stable. Once again, as for the sporty driving fun, thumbs up. And now to some city driving, here with the Cayenne GTS. If you think about the difference in driving between the Coupé and the SUV version, well, there's literally none. I mean, it has some effect on aerodynamics and so on, and a little bit of weight distribution, but it's not really that you would feel a massive effect. It's more about which version are you driving and which technology do you have, which suspension, wheels choice, and so on and so on. So here are the 21-inch wheels for today, and they make the ride actually quite stiff together with the GTS setup. And this car is optionally equipped with the air suspension. However, the GTS always has a stiffer setup than of the air suspension, and that indeed, 21-inch wheels plus stiffer setup for the GTS. You ask yourself, wait a minute, am I really driving an air suspension? So if you put me in this car and I would not know it and I would not see that we can change the chassis height there, I would say, nah, this isn't one. This is like more like a fixed sport suspension. So the real sporty setup here for the GTS, even if you have the air suspension, and that would be a reason not to go for the GTS. However, this sports lightweight package here is really cool also while driving, because these fabric seats are way more comfortable, they're softer than the surface, and also keep you cooler in summer and warmer in winter times. What is to me the biggest highlight technology-wise is the rear axle steering. This is so cool. If you're here at lower speeds, the car feels so much more agile. It fakes a shorter wheelbase. You feel the car is coming around more to the rear, almost as it would be rear-wheel drive only. It makes it so much more easy to steer in and out, in parking lots, and so on and so on. So both more flexibility and more agility at the same time, and then more stability at higher speeds. So at lower speeds they turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels, at higher speeds in the parallel direction. And again, it's so much more fun when you go like, a little bit slalom. You always really literally feel that it directly reacts to the steering input. This car is also equipped with the PDCC, that's the dynamic chassis control here, and in this case then it means it's the anti-roll control, the anti-tilt control, and this means the car is kept upright, so it's not leaning. So although it's a high-building SUV, it drives really like a sports car. It always remains straight, together also with that stiff suspension, which is a lot of fun when the road is even. But when we have some bumps then here, this really reduces the comfort, again also with the bigger wheels. So maybe if you don't like it that stiff, then then do not go for the GTS. That would be the thing. If you want it really sporty, if you want the most menacing GTS, the hottest GTS, the hottest Cayenne, that is then definitely a GTS also driving wise. The turbo maybe has more power, more horsepower, but then again the GTS is usually the sportiest model at Porsche if you think about suspension setup and so on and so on. And I mean, it's the same base block they used here, the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, and you've seen it has way more than enough power. So that won't be then the crucial difference if you compare it really to the V8 horsepower output in the turbo or the Turbo SE hybrid. It's actually still fun to steer it around in the city, and as I said, with these seats here, it's also comfortable enough. If you think about the siblings from Audi, Q7, Q8, VW Touareg, then the Cayenne is always the sportiest version and also least comfortable in a way. If you want to know more about differences between these SUV coupe competitors, there's also a special comparison episode here on our channel. you can also tune into that. As for fuel economy, when you keep it rather calm, let's say motorway cruise control, not too slow speed, like reasonable speeds for German purposes, then you can still score some 12 liters and more kilometers, which is somewhat 20 mpg. Of course, it will go a little bit more up when you use the performance, more like 14 liters, or then less than 20 mpg when you push it a little bit more. Normal driving mode is also the most comfortable one, but you can always tune up to the sports mode or even the sports plus mode when it's dry road, and then like 50 to 80. Well, that's it. Yeah, it's almost like instantaneously, so that's really, really impressive. Every lane change is a lot of fun, especially then with the rear axis steering. So definitely here, it feels literally like a low-sitting sports car, although it's a big SUV. That's once again the biggest achievement here for the Cayenne. Assistance systems, you set the cruise control with a separate column in the left lower steering wheel, and you can increase or decrease the the speed right there. Yeah, increase the temperature gladly, still with a manual climate knob here, so don't have to wash around anything here in the infotainment system. So that's to me always the most helpful thing when we still have some manual controls. Not everything that is new in technology is really useful, and you can also deactivate it once again here with the column. It's not the most practical to have here, but at least then maybe the steering wheel keeps a little bit cleaner also. Here we also have some voice control input. I'm cold.
Please repeat your entry.
I'm cold.
It will get warmer in a minute.
Oh, now it's set from 22 degrees to 24 degrees. I'll reset that down, but you see the voice input, not the most natural one. At least when you click this button here, you can do something then also with the voice input, so that's actually fine. Here once again about 70-80 kilometers an hour, so like 50 miles something. Remains really, really calm once again, so good noise insulation, and especially here in this Alcantara setup here with the inside Alcantara seating, you also feel quite cozy when driving motorway, and it's not that exciting on the outside. It's more like a little bit boring, but still the Cayenne makes an SUV ride always more exciting. Not only when you really boost the power up, but just feeling the Alcantara sporty steering wheel, also part of the sports lightweight package here, so that always gives you some emotion. That's why people would go for the Porsche to give you emotion, and of course why would people go for the Cayenne or the Macan, because they're not comfortable enough in the 911. and the Cayenne is of course more practical with that hatch and so on. As for the all-wheel drive distribution here, once again a little bit to the front, most of the rear, so always a rear wheel bias once again here. I can also have a gauge here for the PDCC, and that is then showing me how the system is always working against when I'm leaning the car somewhere. There's a blind spot monitor here as well inside the side mirrors. Let's see if someone is overtaking us. That seems to be an Audi A8 previous generation. No, A6. There's the blind spot monitor flashing. Yeah. Oh, it's even A4. Yeah. That's with Audi in the recent years. You think A4, A6, A8, they all look the same, I hope that some manufacturers also go away from that and just differentiate the models a little bit more once again. So, good way also on the motorway. Very calm and collected if you like it, and if you've seen it in the first part, of course, and in time very powerful. And now to our conclusion for today with the Porsche Cayenne GTS Coupé. First of all, SUV versus Coupé, it's more about the look really. This here, of course, the sportier look, and I think that's really well done for a SUV Coupé, that it doesn't look too bulky in the rear as well. It indeed looks sleeker and sportier, and even more like a put-up 911. Of course, the SUV then has a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more comfort in the rear compartment there, and also a little bit more trunk space. That's the thing. driving-wise, there's not such a difference. The GTS here, definitely the sportiest version of the Cayenne, although it's not the highest in horsepower, has the stiffest suspension setup. And you really have to like that. Sometimes you do lose some comfort on uneven roads, especially with big wheels. And even if you have the air suspension, but it is really recommended to go with the air suspension with the GTS, otherwise it will get even stiffer, unless you really want that. This chalk color here is also very impressive. In general, of course, a design object here, the Cayenne for an SUV. Interior also really sporty styling. Great with this sports lightweight package that we have the fabric seats. Styling wise, they are pro and con, surely, so some love it, some hate it. But the fabric surface makes it way more comfortable to sit on the seats. They should definitely offer more fabric choices and then maybe just unicolor fabric choice or so to get a better offering in their whole surfaces lineup. Other than that, a very sporty ride, of course. It is one of the sportiest, if not the sportiest SUV out there, and so flawless, especially when you have the rear axle steering that makes it so much more agile and also easy to steer it around for parking lots and so on. And look at that stability and agility also at higher speeds. That was very impressive here on the motorway on the Autobahn today. Thanks so much for tuning in today. See you next time.